Tesla's market cap is at $1.4 trillion, making it currently the 10th largest company. Just last month, NVIDIA became the first company ever in history to hit a $5 trillion market cap. So when might Tesla grow 3 times its current size? When might it, or can it even, someday become the largest company ever? Elon Musk has no shortage of big ideas now, not only talking about building a semiconductor chip terafab, but also AI data centers in space. Today, we'll take a look at what Tesla is expected to do in 2026 and when its true value will explode. We've got the bulls here with us today. We got Jeff Lutz, Mr. Incredible, the Rational Bull. We got Cern Basher, the Bot Bull, and a special guest, Johannes Bhakti, the Pioneer Bull. Welcome, everybody.
Great to be here. Hey, Herbert.
Okay, so this is our fun topic, right? We're just going to have fun. It's Thanksgiving. We're going to think about what could happen in the future. Tesla 5 trillion is our topic today. And then we'll cover 2026. Tesla's going to go bonkers with advertising, I think. And of course, we need to cover the stock as well. So this is the current market cap situation that's happening today as of Friday, Wednesday, when market closed, The NVIDIA is $4.38 trillion. They were at $5 trillion just last month, and they hit past $5 trillion. They are the largest company in the world right now. You got Apple, can't believe that they're still hanging in there. They got lots of cash, buying back stocks. You got Google, 3.8, and we got lonely little Tesla way down here at $1.4 trillion. And yet there are some people who think that Tesla could become not only the largest company, more than 4.3 or wherever it ends up later, 5 trillion, at some point, even more than many of these companies combined. So let's start off with you, Jeff. I know you don't like to give these kinds of targets and all, but give me a range. Like, when do you think that Tesla could hit past 5 trillion? 1 to 2 years, 2 to 5 years, and more than 5 years, something like that. The company and the product. I don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. I enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
The longer term opportunity for Tesla is like no other company that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in the probably the middle category. It's going to be nonlinear, number one. Number two, I think what Tesla is creating in the near term, and it's going to be evident probably over the next 3 to 6 months, is they're creating a supply-demand problem, meaning there's going to be a fixed supply of cars that can drive themselves, vehicles that can drive themselves, and that realization hasn't hit. There's a very small percentage of people that have ever even been exposed to FSD. And I think when that supply problem is realized, I actually think beyond just the valuation of Robotaxi and what it does for the business, and then the valuation of what the humanoid does. By the way, we'll have a revealed humanoid, probably version 3, in the next 3 to 6 months. I think when you start layering over this near-term realization that there's going to be a supply-demand problem, that only one company makes a car that can drive itself from address to address pretty much anywhere in the world soon. And then number two, the robotaxi business and what they'll be able to do at scale. And then number three, the realization of what I think is going to be a more human-like humanoid in movement and form. And when you start layering all those things together, markets don't necessarily wait. They start moving. So it's hard to predict. This is a very hard stock to predict. But I look at it from a product portfolio perspective, from my background, and supply chain from my background. They're creating a supply issue, and the portfolio of products that they have never been stronger than the ones that they actually have right now. And every year we enter into, we're just getting closer to them being realized.
Yeah, but Jeff, I mean, I have this conversation with my wife quite a bit. She's so pissed off. She gets so angry. And she says, why is Meta, Borks? How is Meta so much higher valued? And I say, well, because these companies here, they spit off cash. They have earnings. They are pretty rich.
Absolutely.
I mean, yes, we're doing good, $100 billion a year. But these guys are like $100
Well, it
billion
doesn't
a
matter to
quarter.
Tesla, but that doesn't matter so much to Tesla. I mean, there are interdependencies, but there really aren't. Meta and all these other companies can and should do great if they're throwing off all kinds of cash. But I think there will be a supply demand problem created. And I think Tesla has the best portfolio of real world AI products. And as those are revealed and realized, and there's more confidence in them coming to market, the market will value that even more. The market is valuing, let's be very clear, with a 200x PE, there's absolutely value being placed on these things. It's a question of how much. And then it's also a question of how soon can the robotaxi ramp, what's in front of us right now, how soon can that get to scale?
Okay. So Jeff says middle ground, 2 to 5 years, maybe the 5 trillion mark. Cern, I know you've put together all sorts of spreadsheets. You've got lots of different kind of like scales of which way it can go, got dials and gauges. What's your estimate?
Q4 2026.
Is that a joke or not a joke? Was that serious?
Well, again, it all depends on how quickly robotaxi ramps and when we can get to some scale with that. That's the key, I think, short-term variable. And then, of course, the other variable that really drives the value is Optimus production, Optimus ramping. So right now, both of those are unknown, right? We haven't yet seen much of a ramp in robotaxi. That's coming. We know it's coming. We also know the company is going to be working on getting FSD to work on hardware 3 vehicles. That's probably sometime next year. So there's a lot of things, a lot of value drivers that are in the near term here in the next 12 months that could very easily cause Tesla to have a massive run up, because the value creation from robotaxi at scale is absolutely enormous. So my guess of Q4 2026 is purely a guess. But if we can get ramping of robotaxi and production of bots, we're on our way.
But that's 3 times the size it is today, not just double.
Yes. People still don't understand the change in the business model that's about to happen, right?
Apple switched from hardware to subscription. It took them, I think, 3+ years before people finally relented. Yes, Tesla's not a hardware company. They're actually a subscription company, because they kept counting, right? Oh, it's only 10%, 5%. Oh, it's only 7% of total revenue. And then they flip. But it takes them a long time for people to realize this.
Perhaps it will. And that'll be an opportunity if that plays out that way. Although I do think a lot of people now have learned from that experience from Apple. It's not like we're seeing this for the first time. We've also got NVIDIA and their experience right in front of us in terms of what happened with them. Although NVIDIA didn't change their business model so much as they just massively exploded their business. Tesla is going to explode their business and change their business model. It's kind of a 1-2 punch that makes it very unique.
Okay. Last time I talked to you several months ago, you pointed out that NVIDIA had their skyrocketing stock because they had quarter upon quarter increase in earnings. Each quarter, they just started to show that they are beating, but also increasing. And that's what forced everybody to realize, okay, this is real now. And you said that Tesla should do that by the second half of next year. Is that still on track?
I believe so. Again, it all hinges upon how quickly they can ramp robotaxi, and then shortly after that, how quickly bot production can ramp. And for me right now, those are wild cards. I don't know the timing of either one of those.
What happens if bot production doesn't ramp until 2028, 29, but robotaxi ramp is absolutely just bonkers and it's doing really well?
Oh, then no problem getting, if we're looking at a 5 trillion milestone, no problem getting to a 5 trillion milestone on the back of robotaxi.
Okay, not afraid to give an actual date and number. Joe, I've been waiting for you because you are not afraid to talk Tesla stock. I know you've done a lot of thinking, deep thinking about this. What's your guess and estimate?
Deep thinking and typing, like Cern. I also have my model. And I know people will accuse us of collusion because I'm going to say Q4 2026. No. But here's my rationale. And my rationale is, when I look at my model, I basically have 2 ways of approximating what I think the stock will be and what it should be. These are 2 different things. Right now, I think it's pretty heavily undervalued. I do a 10-year discounted cash flow model where I have certain assumptions, probably not that dissimilar from Cern's assumptions, but that's kind of my future fair value. That's how I call it. So that's for me, what is my internal value of the stock? And I get to roughly 1,245 end of next year, which is below 5 trillion, by the way. But that is my future fair value. And normally right now it's underpriced. But here's why I think we might overshoot by potentially a lot, because the stock price doesn't do what I think the value is. It does its own thing. And what I think is when we scale to, let's say, 40,000 robotaxis commercially deployed, which I think is reasonably possible. I think it's exactly 50%, right? I think it's 50% likely we ramp more and 50% that we ramp less by end of next year. So I think, boom, my bet is 40,000. Most reasonable bet. I think if that happens, this is way beyond any kind of doubter saying, oh, maybe it doesn't ramp, right? At that number, it's clear, okay, if you can ramp to 40,000, you can ramp to 400,000. You can probably ramp to 4 million. So at that point, everyone is forced to understand, okay, it's just totally game on. They're just going to now roll this out endlessly. And I think at that point, the stock becomes a little irrational, but this time to the exuberant side. Because then all bets are off. People realize we were actually right all along. The Cyberbulls, it's like, oh my God, these crazy people were right. But then they're not rational enough to download Cern's model. It's like, wait a minute, what does it actually mean? There's just, oh my God, buy the stock. So I think once we actually see at scale robotaxi rollout, it will overshoot to the upside based on my fair value model. So right now we are undervalued, then we will be slightly overvalued, which is interesting then to see if that would happen, what happens in the next year, and is there a drop, is there an air pocket, is there sidelining even with ramping? So that will be 2027 questions. But I think that's my best bet. If we see multiple tens of thousands, let's say 40,000, end of next year, I think the stock will get very close to 2,000.
Wow. So you're saying 50% chance that happens by the end of next year. But 40,000 robotaxis sounds crazy number. Who here agrees that is the likelihood? 50% chance we'll get 40,000 robotaxis next year, when right now we have 50 cars in Austin, maybe 500, maybe, I don't know, several hundred in California, but they're supervised by the end of next year, 12 months.
If they start making cybercabs in April, how many cybercabs will be produced next year?
Okay, yeah, good question. If they started making a vehicle, a brand new vehicle, like they did Cybertruck, for example, with all new technology, all new production line, that's different. If it was a regular car, 50,000 per year, within 12 months, to me, I could have said, okay, that could have been a good target. But I think that because this is new, I would say not 50,000. I'd say if they're lucky, 20,000 by the end of December, if it's just starting in April.
Well, if you put a number out there, you have to say what the limiters are. So what are the limiters in your mind?
I just kind of alluded to it, right? You're the dude. I'm learning from you, Jeff. Okay, it's like anytime there's a product that you explain this for that they've never done before, right? Brand new product. It's like not a production line even. It's a whole new system. Every part is pretty well new. That they've created, not something they can just grab from the Model 3s and Model Ys and put together. Many of it is brand new. The paint thing is all brand new, all that. So the production line, the supplies is new. This is a different kind of vehicle. You're just talking
Cybercab only, but
yes,
robotaxis can be Model Ys.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he was talking about Cybercab, so I was saying less than 20,000 Cybercab. So are you? But okay, yes. Okay, that's you caught me. Did you?
I'll answer the
because wait. Yeah, because if I see what Cern did here, because if I say 20,000 cybercabs, and then Elon said that he believes regulation will match roughly the number of cybercabs that they produce, so theoretically you could get 20,000 out there by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, on the supply chain, the production side, to me, there's no reason why they couldn't do 75 to 100,000 in 2026 of cybercabs. But I think the question goes back to Model Ys that come off the line every 28 seconds are cybercabs. We saw them when we were in Texas, just driving off the line one after another, just driving out of the building and into a parking lot. So I think it's going to come down to, honestly, regulatory and how many regions can they bring online. Do we get a big federal government push for a unilateral standard And do we get rid of some of these caps? But I do agree that once there's many tens of thousands, the market will value an order of magnitude, maybe higher than that. Just because it would, if you look at the next competitive taxi offering, it's just a few thousand vehicles. So Tesla would have put themselves into a new category, a new level. And I think they're going to have some interesting financial metrics maybe within a year to start sharing on that as well. So it's going to be looked upon and valued differently, I think, than other setups, because they can't even talk about there's no balance sheet discussions with any of these robotaxi companies because they don't want to talk about it at this point.
They will be bad for Google.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so it's one thing about Cybercab production and Model Y production and robotaxi, but can Tesla have the infrastructure in place to support that? Let's say regulation approves everything.
The regulation is going to be an inverse of how good is the software. So they would need less oversight per vehicle based on the performance of the model of software. So it's really honestly a race between those two. And you're right, there is an operational ramp to this that needs to be factored in and understood.
But I also think when you put together the numbers, right, and you put together how much you actually make per robotaxi, and I think Cern and I came to very similar amounts. Like it's an enormous amount of money you make per robotaxi compared to selling cars. And so are 40,000 cars worldwide, let's say in the United States, is it really that much of an effort? Like, of course, you need to ramp up operations. You need to remote operators or oversight. You need to clean these things at night and you need to charge them. But I mean, is Tesla known for not understanding how to build superchargers? Like they built a lot of superchargers. So I think, and cleaning, I never saw cleaning as like, of course, if you have 2 million of these, maybe at some point it becomes a problem. But at 40,000, they have thought this through endlessly already. I think I don't think we will hit like serious operational hurdles at that scale. It will keep being a problem if they scale it to 200,000 and 2 million. So that will create a lot of ongoing operational challenges, of course. But they are not rocket science, and we're dealing with rocket scientists, as we know.
It's funny, Herbert, when I hear people talk about all the reasons why something won't happen, right? The regulatory, the production, the cleaning, the operations behind the scenes, all that stuff needs to be built out. And people talk as though those are barriers to creating value going from 0 to some crazy number. But if you put it in a spreadsheet and said, okay, let's look at a scenario where you get to 40,000 in, Q3 next year versus Q4 versus even a year later. And then you run those numbers out for some period of time. The difference in the present value actually is very small. So for me, what it comes down to is, do we believe Tesla is going to overcome all of these issues? And I think every single one of us on this panel would say, yes, they will. Mm-hmm. Sure, there's unknowns. Right, we don't know when the regulatory situation is going to become, all systems go for Tesla. We don't know when that's going to happen, but at some point it will. FSD is only going to get that much better over the next 6 months, year. It's going to be amazing a year from now. It's incredible now. Mm-hmm. So all these things are moving in the right direction. And yet many investors take this approach to say, well, we don't have clarity, therefore the value is, is a very low number. And all of a sudden, when the switch goes on and we have clarity, now suddenly it's worth trillions. I mean, run the numbers. Look at how the present value does not change that much depending on the time frame.
And I think on operational execution, just one thing. I mean, Herbert, we discuss this a lot. I think not even regulatory is an issue. The only issue is FSD. Like, is this thing really perfect and ready to roll out and not making accidents or not? This is the only really hard part. I think because regulatory, you don't need the entire United States unlocked. If you have Arizona and Pennsylvania and Texas, you can deploy millions of these things potentially if you cover all areas. But I just recently read this thing on X or YouTube, just as a side note, who we are dealing with, Elon Musk and his team. Like I read about a Colossus and this little side note of the energy problem of Colossus, right?
Yep.
Oh, they didn't have enough energy. When you read no one even mentioned, it's like such a tiny little side project. Oh, there's a power plant that's out of commission. Oh, let's buy the thing,
They moved
find
it.
turbines, import the turbines, connect the freaking thing, build 10 million whatever watts of batteries. No one even talks. This is a side project no one even pays attention to, perfectly, flawlessly executed in like 2 months. So that's what you're dealing with. Like people who can just overnight, without even mentioning it, build a giant power plant as an internship project, right? Can they figure out how to vacuum a robotaxi at night? Probably.
That is appropriate
normally
perspective.
normally I
Like,
would say, well, I can't do. If you tell me, Joe, can you vacuum 40,000 robotaxis? Like, no, I also cannot organize this. But I'm not in charge, right? There are other people in charge.
It's okay. It's the exponential curve that many people have trouble believing, agreeing, just putting their back against. Because hey, if I did ask all of you and some of you, how many robotaxis would Tesla have by the end of this year, December 2025? You would have said 1,000, 2,000. Well, we're at 50. Now,
we don't know
that
what
is
number we're at. I don't know about that.
Well, people have been out there saying, I'm spotting them and I'm tracking them.
Well, I said, Herbert, 1,800 by May next year. So let's see.
This will be difficult. So robotaxis are going to, every week that goes by, it's going to be increasingly difficult to count. I'm not saying there's many, many hundreds or thousands either. I agree with that. I do think there are things in scaling when you're scaling up something new. So it'd be great if we got to 1,000 by the end of this year. It would be nice because then you can say, all right, with Q1, let's double it. And then let's double it again in the next quarter. Otherwise, they're going to have some quarters where they do more than double. And if you double every quarter after 1,000, I think you get to 25 to 30,000 next year. And I agree with Cern's comment of when we're looking back on this 2 years from now, and you're doing it from a valuation perspective, if it's 30 or 40,000, it's not going to that's not what's making the difference in all this. So it'll be interesting to see how they scale. I agree that the challenges are not as difficult to deal with. Some of these involve people, and some of it will be automated in the future. What's nice about Tesla is they have in the United States, they have a great infrastructure of charging and service centers. So they have options if they run into problems that, if they need to set up more manual type operations or stand up things very quickly, they can. So I agree. The challenges are definitely less in income. I would say less in intelligence and complexity per se of like, can this ever be done or not? Just more of like operational execution.
Here's another way to think about it, Herbert. Let's say that we say that 40,000 robotaxis, we're just picking a number out of the air, is kind of a key milestone, that if they get to 40,000, then they're on their way to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of vehicles, right? So let's just agree that's the number. I don't think it is, but let's just pick a number. Okay. The question is then, and how long it takes them from now to get to 40,000. That's an unknown. We just discussed it. But let's all agree that at 40,000, the concept is proven. They're the market leader. It's just a matter of rinse and repeat. So at 40,000, then this business is worth, pick a number, 5 trillion? Because they've proven that they can do this. It's just a matter of scaling it. It's just a matter of applying, producing more vehicles and scaling it. So if it's 5 trillion a year from now, or 5 trillion 2 years from now, does it matter? Right? And if it is 1 year from now, then what's the company worth today? Well, a lot more than it's currently trading for. If it's 2 years from now, what's the company worth today? Still a lot more than it's trading for. To me, that's the simplest way to look at this. Has Tesla shown an inability to do any of these things that we're talking about today in terms of improving FSD, producing vehicles, right? The regulatory front, well, it's not just them. Waymo is trying to pave the road for them as well, right? So all these things, I think, will be resolved at some point. We just don't know when. But that doesn't mean that the value is not there.
It only matters to your leaps, to your call
Yeah,
options.
right.
But yeah, in the big picture, I totally agree. So I think these are luxury problems of people who are a little greedy like me, who just want to add some alpha through some options trading by actually timing some things. And of course, we have to be cautious with that. But I think there is an opportunity because my 50% chance, I believe it's right now the best bet. And if that's true, that's not expected by the market.
Okay.
And also, like when it comes to scaling, one more thing, I think we are not looking at a conventional exponential curve where you just double or whatever, double every X months. I think it's more like a inflection point. Once FSD truly works, you can scale much more rapidly than before. And I think right now we are not yet at the point where it truly perfectly works enough, right, to just go like remove the safety drivers and do that. But we are incredibly close. And I think that is the interesting point. And that will not be priced in immediately.
Yeah.
Once we are crossing that point, Wall Street will not immediately understand it. Because then they will still wait, oh, but what about the cars and the scaling? So I think that's our advantage.
Yeah.
And I think that that point will be reached before next year, May.
The other reason why that could be true is that it's one thing is robotaxis, actual robotaxis on some sort of city charging money and really being a ride hail. The other bit is, well, let's say there's only 5,000 robotaxis, but there's like 20,000, 1 million cars, my car, your car, all of our cars, and they're driving kind of unsupervised, even though they're not charging anything. People will wake up. They'll go, right? This is like, okay, that car that I'm driving here in Seattle, that can be a robot. I mean, it really is. I woke up this morning and I realized I'm driving zero critical disengagements in Seattle, Vancouver, Canada, and Portland. We've got Chicago, Florida. I got a guy yesterday saying flawless in Philadelphia and Austin. I mean, like basically anywhere. But people are reporting now that it's.
I mean, I think one
it's
thought
good.
experiment.
That's now.
Throw that last thought experiment in. I think because I'm always saying it's only the technology matters, the rest is trivial, even regulations. Just one thought experience. Imagine aliens land and they give you FSD. And this FSD is guaranteed to never, ever make any mistake. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you plug into your car. How many of these things would you then deploy? You have the Robotax, you are charging the money, you would deploy a lot of them. Because the only thing that could happen is like, oh, there's like a queue at night for the cleaning. Oops, they hire 2 more people or something, right? That's the level of problems you would have. You could scale that extremely rapidly. You could deploy like 1 million in Texas or something once you figure out some basic things. So that's why I'm saying it's just the technology. At the moment where they have extreme confidence that there are no crashes and there's no hiccup, I think that's the only thing that holds them up. They want to avoid any kind of crash situation. But once it's good enough for that, I think it's a total switch flip in terms of speed of rollout.
Okay. I'm going to go through a list of everything that happened just this week about FSD, robotaxi, autonomy, and all that. Okay. And then you guys pick which one you want to talk about. First of all, and I don't know what order this is, Elon said, first of all, they wide release version 14.2. And then Elon said that 14.3 is going to be the last piece of the puzzle. Both Ashok and Elon said that 14.2 was a big release, and 14.3 is also a very big release. Hardware 3, FSD, it seems to be incoming at this point. There's a hiring of a person who can take large models to smaller models. It may not be right now, but I was thinking it was going to be like second half of next year. Now I'm going, maybe it might actually come sooner. We had comments from Ashok again, directly to a friend of mine, and he said that yes, hardware 3 cars will be able to be used as robotaxis. And again, I'm still not saying it's going to be like this year. It could be like end of next year, but it might be sooner than we think. We found that Tesla got approval to launch a robotaxi-like service, a ride-hail service in Nevada. They still have one more step to get, but they got the big one. That's important. That adds to the Arizona approval that they got the week before. There's a code found in the robotaxi apps that point to unsupervised FSD coming, or in their case, in robotaxi, it means that there's nobody for monitor, because that you have the ability to actually do live screen sharing, so that lets a remote representative take a look at your app and help guide you. And it allows you to give permission to Tesla's remote representative to have visual through the in-cabin camera and to hear the audio inside the camera. Clearly, that's a point to the next step of getting rid of a monitor and or even in our own cars, unsupervised FSD. Boston, there was a car doing mapping of the LiDAR mapping of the streets, final validation, EU approval. And Elon was saying and that they spent all weekend last week submitting approval for EU, European Union, and that they still think it might be Netherlands approved in February, but who knows if that's going to happen. FSD was launched in South Korea. So now South Koreans are showing flawless driving in South Korea. And then Elon talked about licensing Tesla FSD, that he said that it doesn't seem to be happening because they offered it to them, many automakers, and they just refused. Or every time somebody did reach out, they just wanted some tiny pilot program 5 years out with requirements that made no sense. He says it's crazy and pointless. So those were the big events that's happened. Anybody want to pick one and talk?
There's validation in New Hampshire too, by the way.
Like it's funny no, but it's okay. I mean, Waymo's been validating everywhere. They've been validating in Seattle for 10 years. 10 years. So I know it's different, but still, they're going to get out there and validate, but it could still be a year or longer before we actually see it coming, right?
And I want to add some more European action. There's not just the EU looking into some regulations, but also Elon, I think, talked about the Netherlands, but the Czech Republic is now commenting on the Netherlands and saying, we want to do that too. We want to be number 2. So they are looking into it. Germany, France, and Italy have now test drives on FSD. So you can sign up all over Germany now with Tesla's, the Tesla stores and get free FSD ride experiences. So why are they doing that? Not because it never comes to Germany. So it's kind of in preparation for 3 big countries. In Sweden, we now have a municipality close to Stockholm that has approved FSD testing for Tesla. So it's cracking everywhere in Europe. And what I always want to emphasize for people, Europe is not like the United States, that you have like a government that oversees Europe. It's a little bit different. The nation states still have the vastest share of the control. And it's still a competitive patchwork. The Netherlands doesn't have to wait for anyone. They can just do it. Once they do it, the Czech Republic is going to say, oh, we need to accelerate this. Then Sweden is going to say we can't be too far behind. And then the big ones come in. So that's why I always said regulatory is actually a much smaller problem in Europe than people think, because you don't need the EU to do much. They can just help if they want to, but they cannot.
I'll push back a bit, Joe. I mean, you can hear the frustration coming out of Elon, and
I think you can split the world up into where is Tesla self-limiting themselves, right? They want to improve the software and reduce the probability of an incident. I would say that's most of the US right now, because they could deploy in a lot more places in the US, and they're limiting themselves because they want to reduce the probability of an incident, so better software, and there's probably some operational limits in areas as well where they just need to hire these drivers and ramp up in these areas. And then you go to the EU and you go to China, and it looks like there's a little bit more of a regulatory in the beginning, a little bit more of a regulatory issue in the beginning. But I think what Joe is saying is that may lift quicker than we think, and Tesla needs to be ready in this. So I think this is going to be fairly non-linear, but there's going to be puts and takes in every region. But I don't think it's. I honestly think in the year 2025, a lot of this is Tesla just being very careful based on the level of performance in the software. But now they're at a stage where they can demo this in Europe, and it'll drive, essentially perfectly. And they can demo it anywhere in the US, and they're confident to do that. I don't think they would have been as confident even 4 to 6 months ago to do that, even though to us 1329 was the best thing we've ever driven when 1329 was out. The difference between that and, the probability of an incident being 1 in X million wasn't there yet. So they look at all these statistics and they self-limit. So I mean, all of these headlines are important if you as they relate to scaling of robotaxi. So they all have like their own a bit of unique performance. This 14.2 to 14.3 though, I mean, if that would be interesting to see what we experience as consumers when reasonings entered in the play. And then on hardware 3, and I'll close there, that's an unlock of 3.5 to 4 million vehicles globally. So that is, I guarantee you that the economics of that are clearly understood inside of Tesla, and the consumer sat issue is clearly understood inside of Tesla. And the work on that is not waiting for these people to be hired on these requisitions. I think these people are just being fortified and building up the strength of the team. But that's a big economic and consumer satisfaction unlock to get that many vehicles into the fray. That's huge for Tesla. So they're definitely focused on it.
Just to tie these two conversations together, the previous one about value creation and this one, if you think about perception about FSD safety, right? If you think of a meter, right? Public perception probably right now is autonomous vehicles are dangerous and unproven, right? The experience that we all have driving the vehicles and seeing it for ourselves, our meter is probably more on the other side saying, well, this is actually a life-saving technology. Everybody should have this. I'm wondering now how quickly that meter for the population at large will flip over, right? More to that side. And that also then is also tied to the value creation discussion. The quicker that meter flips, the more explosive that value creation will occur, in my opinion. Okay. And I think we actually, this could actually be a surprising thing. It's worth thinking about is how quickly that meter could flip. The public perception could change from it's okay to have 40,000 people die on the roads every year in the United States. People don't even think twice about that. To, it's not okay anymore. Why do we allow this? That is going to be an interesting social dynamic to play out over the next few years.
Yeah, I think you're being way too optimistic. Way too optimistic. You know that today, less than 0.1% of people know FSD works, and even following it and understand it. Yeah, that's the next topic we're going to talk about is advertising. We need more people to understand this, but and then I think today, despite how good version 12 is, 14 is, people still have in their heads that Tesla is causing major accidents.
Well, Tesla hasn't done much to combat that.
Herbert starts to show off. When are we going to be at 5 trillion? Then he's Cern. You're way too optimistic.
I play the other side. I'm trying to play balance the conversation. I'm playing the conversation.
I mean, is there a better host out there?
Yeah, if Cern was saying that we'll never get to 5 trillion until 10 years from now, you watch what I say that.
True.
But I think regarding what Cern just said, that goes a little beyond Tesla and more into the Mac 7, or especially Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, and Google. I think the very special situation we have right now is that we live in the age of AGI, or AI, however far you want to push it. And we have these companies, maybe Tesla is the number one of them, but the others too, with pretty aggressive entrepreneurial leaders that have so many shots on so many targets right now, including, of course, Optimus and Robotaxi, that are kind of giant startups with enormous unlockable TAMs, but they have one big difference to every other startup, like OpenAI, for example. They sit on giant cash piles. They're making constantly more cash. And when we discuss Tesla, it's just about, how much even more cash are they going to rake in at what point in time? Yeah, now hardware 3, boom, suddenly you have more free money for Tesla FSD subscriptions. Then Robotaxi is just a question, how fast does it scale when and bring in like $30,000 margin per car per year or something crazy? Robo trucking, right? Even in more insane numbers. And I think that's what we have to understand. It's not they are as aggressive as startups, but with tens of trillions of dollars of TAMs. And they basically have it's like a shooter that has to hit the bullseye, and OpenAI or a normal startup has like 10 bullets, and then they pull him, right? Okay, you lost, you're out, you missed. Whereas with Tesla, you have 10 million bullets, and we just wait until you hit it. And that's, how can this go wrong? It's very hard to see. This is also true for the other core players in AI in their respective fields. And that's why I'm generally so bullish. And I think that's the big picture. They are not even under time pressure other than by us, the shareholders. But I mean, they just sit on cash and make more cash. And the question is only when do they open the floodgates to like tenfold their cash?
The shots on goal thing is real. I mean, this is what I talked about earlier. The Tesla's portfolio is part of its 200x valuation. If you look at all the Mag 7 companies, I would say Tesla and Alphabet, and there's a fairly big drop off in future. I mean, you throw NVIDIA in there, and there's a fairly big drop off, I would say, in future portfolio potential of these companies. So they're throwing off immense amounts of cash, and they're very successful now, some of these other companies. But you look at the forward portfolio, and you look at the ability of these companies and these CEOs to actually start and lead a new category, I mean, Elon and Tesla have done it with EVs. They are about to do it with autonomy, and they're basically forging real world AI. Like I was trying to think of it the other day. Is there another real world AI product you can buy on the market? A, can you buy anything? And B, is there anything even close to Tesla FSD in performance? So I agree. The shots on goal thing is real. I was in Cern's camp too on this awareness flip. And I think you're right, Herbert. We've been talking about it. There's an awareness problem. It needs to be measured, and it needs to be quantified and actioned, because that's the only way you fix awareness problems. And Tesla's trying a bunch of stuff right now, but I don't know. Maybe that brain, I'll argue, maybe that brain, maybe that muscle isn't inside of Tesla. They need to go find it somewhere in terms of driving awareness. But I also think Tesla has limited that themselves. Again, they knew where FSD was in terms of performance relative to what it needs to be to have the incident of an accident be very rare and not a sentiment issue. So we have an awareness issue. I think there will be a flip. There will be a supply problem, and there's really no company with a better portfolio. And that is a huge part of the 200x PE. Those are all great points.
Yeah, very good points.
I also
guys.
think, Herbert, we discussed this too when it comes to awareness and marketing. I'm sitting on kind of the other side of most people, maybe more where Elon also sits on this. I think like we don't need marketing, because I think in Elon's mind it's like, dude, once robotaxis out, we have 40,000 or 100,000 of these. People will get it. And so why would I put all the management effort and attention in just 1 year earlier to start convincing them with some ads? I could just focus on the product, get thousands or tens of thousands out, and it takes care of itself. And I don't mind that year lag if my alternative is to hire a dumb advertising agency and start like trying to do propaganda. So I think that's how Elon thinks. If the product doesn't sell itself, we should work on the product, not on the advertising.
So on that point, Tesla did start advertising though this week. I think currently it's only on X. They showed the safety of full self-driving in different scenarios. That was great. So maybe they will expand that. Who knows? But I hope that they do. We're going to talk advertising right now. The point about butts and seats, though, that's why I think you're right, Jeff. That if they do work on Harbor 3, and then all of a sudden you have all these cars, we're all driving it now. We're getting our own passengers in. They will figure this out, and that will grow. 14.3 is so good now. 14.2 is so good now. Wait till 14.3 comes, and then wait for the next version and all that. Yeah, you can do this.
But there's a difference, Herbert. I want to keep making this point. 14.2 to us is great. 13.29 to us was great. But now the distance between what that perception is to us and what perfection needs to be to scale is much shorter. It's much smaller now. And we've never been in this position before. So I just we kind of sound like a broken record. Last year, this time, we were like, oh my God, 13.1 is great. This is the greatest thing. I have a post I did where Elon reposted. I'm like, this is the greatest thing. And it was to us at the time. We have this implicit bias, but the distance between that and what perfection needs to be to scale has meaningfully shrunk with 14. Sorry.
Meaning to say that today, if somebody else gets into the car now,
correct,
they will just go like somebody who's never seen it before.
Correct.
It's going to be so flawless that they're blown away. Like there can't be even one little tiny, jitter or kind of thing. And we're almost there, right?
Yep.
So they did start doing a new kind of advertising. It's not advertising, marketing, where they have offered last night, I think, to how many million? 1 point something million people who have hardware for cars don't have FSD. They give them 1 free month of FSD. So they should be doing this to everybody, to all Tesla cars, right? Just give them 1 free month, but hardware for first.
Yeah. The only last thing to do is just have the car engage FSD itself without telling the consumer. Just
Screw you. I'm going to do it.
You're not, just the face comes up. You're not driving anymore. We are. That's the only
Lock
way
the
to
doors
joking.
and then off we go.
We're joking,
lock
but
the doors.
it actually is safer now. So, right?
You still might get complaints if you do that, even if it's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. I'm just...
That was a
So
joke.
advertising, I disagree a little bit there, Joe, that I think that, yes, that's the way Elon thinks. Product will sell itself, butts and seats will sell it, and we're good. But advertising, why not? Cost is minimal. You got to change the public sentiment, as we talked about. You're fighting against the media, who today still write articles about people dying of Tesla cars using autonomy.
I think like why I understand it so well, what Elon thinks there's like when you put yourself into the shoes, this is not just about doing something or not, it's about management attention. Because there's no scenario where Elon has not to look at these ads. And he's like, I don't have time for that. I have to launch, I don't want to have meetings sitting there and discussing dumb ads. And I think he's also not willing to say, well, just someone do the ads. Because it's his baby. He doesn't want, Tesla advertised too much without him having input on that, I think. So I think that's the chicken and the egg or whatever, the catch-22, that he would need to be involved, and that's probably too annoying.
I agree that that's probably how he's thinking. I think you're characterizing it correctly, Joe. But this is a big shift for people mentally, this whole switching thing of I drive myself all the time, and now I'm going to let this computer from Tesla and Elon Musk drive me. And I've never let this happen before. I think that barrier for a lot of people is going to be an issue where some amount of education is needed. I think a lot of that will be word of mouth. This is, we'll debate this till the cows come home. I'm not an advertising expert, but what I have seen be very important is just to measure awareness and just understand awareness. Do you understand that there's a button in your car you can push, and for $99 a month, you don't have to touch the steering wheel or pedals or brake anymore? Do you even understand that exists? And if we just start there and work on that, there's some benefit to that. And then just dealing with this whole switcher phenomenon. I'm never going to let this. I know people in my family, friends, like, I'm never going to let this car do this for me. Are you kidding me? This thing's 2.5, 3 tons. I'm going to just let the thing take over and drive itself. So there's a lot of people that need to get over that barrier. But between that group of people and people that are willing to try it, there's a lot of people that would be, I think, willing to try it and then buy it once they experience it. So I think rolling out this trial over the holidays, where there's all this travel, I think is a great move.
I think they're going to, I'll make a bet. And I think that they will substantially do a advertising campaign, a real one, like all different kind of outlets, specifically about safety, but more importantly about texting and driving. That whole thing about texting and driving is very dangerous. 30% of all accidents, deaths occurred because of texting.
Good point.
And you have this feature now that you can text, and in fact, Tesla will. So I don't think this idea that, let the car drive for yourself, that you're battling against people say, I love to drive. My wife says that. I'm a good driver and I love to drive. But then so one day, what will make her change? And she when I'm on my car, she loves FSD. She's seen it for 7 months going flawless everywhere. But when she's in her own car, she has not turned it on. And I think that the moment they says, you got a text, you can look at it, or maybe even do makeup or whatever, I don't know, drink coffee, that's when she might go, okay, I'll do it for this for this next 5 miles. I'll turn it on for that, but not this. I'm going to let it drive me forever.
I think the best and most compelling advertising for FSD will be Robotaxi. If you order your Robotaxi, you jump in all day long. At some point, you think like, why am I even driving my Tesla? So I think that is just objectively by the most persuasive, powerful thing. And I think for Elon, it's really, I'm not pushing back that you guys are right, that it would be good for Tesla, but I think for Elon, it's like, should I spend an hour a week on reviewing ads or on making Robotaxi happen? And then he thinks, I think there are always trade-offs. You can't have it all. It's like the feminists were wrong. You can't have it all. At least not as Elon. So he has to make these trade-offs, and then he probably thinks, I'd rather work on Optimus and Spaceship and on Robotaxi than reviewing these ads. And I think we are not that far. If that flip is really switched in April or May, I mean, we are off to the races. Then it's about getting people into Robotaxis, and this will be by far the biggest flip for FSD adoption, in my opinion.
I think I agree with that. And another comment I make is just, if you go to a city right now with Waymos and you see them, you're like, oh my God, I just saw 10 of them in a hour, less than an hour time frame. Imagine when there's thousands of Tesla Robotaxis and they have that iconic branding on the side. I think you're right. I think the cities are gonna look different, and I think there's just critical balance of sentiment and positive, negative sentiment on a brand, on a product. They just need to cross over. They can't have an issue very early, and once they do that, and they don't have any issues, they can really just have explosive volume in a region, and people are like, okay, these things are great. Like, they work. They're here all the time. I get worried when I see some of the wait time issues and things that are being dealt with right now in Austin, and I hope that is the metric that Tesla starts looking at. I'm sure they are looking at it, but that we on X, a lot of the retail, we're always asking how many cars versus what's the wait time and how many rides are being given. Yeah.
The other thing I would just add to this discussion is insurance. If Tesla can find a way to reduce insurance costs, that is huge. So it's being able to text, it's not dying, and reducing your costs. Those are the three killer apps.
I think you have to flip the priority. Surprisingly, safety doesn't seem to be a mover, really. It's not the priority for people.
Well, that's again, insurance costs. If people can not have to pay for insurance anymore, or at least massively reduce their cost, then that would be a mover.
Would that only be in states that Tesla has insurance?
Well, hopefully, eventually, that's every state. I mean, it takes a while, I guess, to get approval, but
I mean, I think it's dead on its track because it stopped at 12 states 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so difficult to get approval to sell insurance. It seems crazy to me, but
yeah, my insurance is half.
Insurance is a horror. I looked into that when I was in healthcare. It's just like how you build an insurance. It's kind of a joke. I mean, this is one of the most corrupted industries ever, right? If you want an insurance company, good luck. Like, they're not going to let you. So
maybe they have to partner with Lemonade Metromile.
You're like that guy in the audience in the shareholder meeting. You're trying to raise it again, Herbert? It doesn't have to be Lemonade. It could be anything, but yeah. I mean, my experience is, look, the difference between me getting insurance from a typical insurance agency and Tesla, it's essentially half. It's paying for would pay for monthly FSD. So I don't think that's a coincidence, actually.
The CEO of Lemonade obviously raised his hand quickly and asked Elon, right? not at the shareholder meeting, but a post. He said, hey, we would love to partner with you, Tesla. We will offer near zero insurance if the person uses FSD in your cars. Like that, literally near zero insurance is what he said. So
yeah, what do they know?
Yeah, very interesting. Right? But yeah, you probably you can lower your insurance if you text more because it proves you didn't touch the wheel. So you make it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's funny. Whoa. Okay, we covered a lot of ground here. Should we go into questions? Quick fire questions. I guess we don't need to be so quick on this. We got some time here. It might sound like a stupid question, but who will have the second largest robotaxi market share? Assuming Tesla is around the world, we can go each country. U.S. currently Waymo is ahead of Tesla in terms of robotaxi market share. But then that should change quickly. All of you guys think it'll happen in 2026. Would Waymo be the second largest robotaxi market share in the US? And then what happens in China and what happens in Europe?
Well, you know my theory. I think Google has a very simple theory. I mean, I have this bold theory that they will switch it out with some ASI stuff in 2028 or 2029. But the strategy is they need to stay in the market, burn through tens of billions of dollars, and scale against the P&L to be the number 2. And I think they will. Now, will they also be the number 2 in Europe? Probably, because Google is strong there. And then I think in China, it's going to be XPeng or whoever, like one of these Chinese companies. Maybe they will be the number 1. I don't know if Tesla, I mean, then we are playing, that's a whole different ball game, what the governments will decide. Because I think the whole Optimus robotics and autonomous driving will also become very political, where Europe and the US will just ban outright like Chinese humanoids and stuff like that. And then China might just retaliate and say, okay, now we ban yours or whatever. So I think China is harder to predict, but I would say Waymo, because it's Google, will be number 2 here, like in the US and Europe. That's my bet.
I have a non-conventional response. Optimus is number 2.
What?
That could
Optimus can ride a bicycle and have people on the back.
You will have an Optimus driver.
Can pull a rickshaw and have people. It's going to be Optimus.
You're talking about Optimus getting into a gas car, 1973 car,
Optimus
and then driving it like a human.
Or pulling a wheeled vehicle behind it.
For the people who hate Teslas, they will sit in their BMWs and buy an Optimus. And then the Optimus drives the BMW.
All right. I don't think so, dude. But
mark my words.
Yeah, I'll mark it so I can make fun of you. Oh my God. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Not everybody.
I don't think it's too absurd. Like, imagine it's a totally orthogonal market. Like, everyone's like, I need someone to wash my clothes. Oh, Optimus, buy it. But I hate Teslas. And then you have your BMW, and it's like, I don't want to drive. Maybe I ask Optimus to drive me.
Okay. No. It's the economics of that is so low to get a ride-hail share versus doing actual useful work in other markets. It's so big. You wouldn't waste.
Herbert's got to get the fire hose out again on all this bullishness.
Yeah.
It just
here's my argument to you guys. Okay, I hear what you said about Google, Waymo, and I know that they're so powerful today. But being focused on LiDAR right now, and I've reported already that their research department has actually already shown that just vision only and neural nets is the way to go. That they'll switch some point in the future. But what about another company that has head start in neural nets and vision only that can, even at this point, even though Waymo's already ahead, they will fall off to number 3, 4, 5. This second company will come in and become number 2 because, yes, they have a lead in approvals, but that doesn't mean once the state has approved them, there's like 10 other companies that have already got approval also. Literally, these guys are doing pilot trials. So I don't think that is a real advantage that Waymo has. In fact, they have something that's just not workable at this point.
Yeah, I think in Europe, Wave has an opportunity to do well. I don't know if they're going to be number 2, number 3, but I think they have an opportunity to do very well. I do think the regulatory landscape is an interesting variable to watch. I don't think countries and continents are necessarily going to want to seed robotics. When I say seed, C-E-D-E, seed, like let other countries just own this in their domain. And humanoids is definitely, I think, going to be a bright red line. And the question is going to be with robotaxis and data collection and so forth. I think robotaxis will be able to work through that for the most part. Humanoids definitely will be a line, but I think in Europe, Wave has a shot at being a 2 or 3. I think in China, you've got Baidu, XPeng. In the US, I mean, I think, Waymo as Google have earned that right and will have a very competitive offering.
Will Tesla stop selling drivable cars? When will the last drivable vehicle be made? Lars Morvey was interviewed at the Tesla Owner Silicon Valley event this summer, and he said that the Roadster is going to be our last hurrah of drivable cars, and so we want to give it really good due. Give it make it like the best drivable car you can ever. Although it's going to fly also, and this is the debate. I don't think Tesla will make any more drivable cars. Once you got autonomy, you're going to go all in on robotaxi cars, autonomous cars. So you had, who was it? Ashok. He said that he's working on or he said it's coming. The RoboVan is coming. Now, it could be many, many years away, but those are the form factors I'm expecting them to create at this point. Will Tesla stop selling drivable cars? And I guess I should have put a time frame here. I'm thinking
yes, by the year 3000. But I think it's a question to Jeff how far these platforms would carry us. But I would just say, as an amateur, you can use Model Y and 3 and S and X at least another 10 years. These platforms, and
I should clarify. What I meant here is not that they're going to stop selling the Model 3, Model Ys, Xs, and I'm saying, will they stop creating brand new drivable cars, new versions of it, and selling those?
Yeah, my opinion, the odds that there will never be another new Tesla thing that's drivable are very high after the Roadster. So, in short, yes, they will stop selling them, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They will keep selling what they have and improve them incrementally for another 10 years or something, but then why would you do it?
Yeah, you really got to get your thinking just in a different place. Like today, I'm just thinking what if there's an emergency situation and all of the street lights are out and the power's out and all these things happen? Well, the neural net should be able to figure out how to drive and how to work through those things. So, yeah, I'm in that camp that the Roadster may be it.
I approach this from a sort of economic perspective, right? As more and more people gravitate toward autonomous vehicles, there'll be less demand for vehicles that people can drive. The demand may always be there. There may always be somebody who lives on a farm is going to want to be able to drive their truck around the farm. Fine. I get that. The problem is it's going to be almost uneconomical for the companies to provide those vehicles, or they'll have to provide it at a very high cost. Just like today, you can still buy a horse and you can still ride a horse, right? There may be vehicles that are made, but they're going to be so much more expensive. And from Tesla's perspective, it won't make any sense to really put any energy into developing a new drivable vehicle at some point. I don't know whether, we're there quite yet, but I'm more focused on the economics of this. Just less demand for these vehicles is going to cause the supply of them to fall and the cost to go up, all things being equal.
Yeah, and I'm talking about farms. I don't want to beat a dead horse, no pun intended.
Oops.
But it's the same horse equivalent. Like the points Jeff made, if you're really concerned about all kinds of catastrophes happening and you only have the robotaxi, but the same is true for horses. Because I need a horse, but what happens if there's no oil anymore? If there's an apocalypse and Rockefeller doesn't give me his oil and then I'm sitting there without a horse? That's insane. Of course you need a horse. But then turns out you just don't need a horse. Maybe it's crazy that we don't have horses. So it will be very similar, in my opinion, that people in the future will look back like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? You want to have this metal piece in your garden to wait for the apocalypse? You're crazy.
Dumb question. I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but this week Elon did talk about the fact that he revealed that there is no automaker that they're talking seriously about to license Tesla FSD. He said that every time they talk to one, it's maybe a tiny pilot program 5 years out, and he's just thinks it's crazy and pointless that these guys no one has really stepped up. But we know that once FSD is truly proven, we know that, they're forced against the back that they will have to do it. Which automaker will be the first to license FSD?
A Chinese company.
Yeah. I think you're
Faraday
right.
Future.
So
Chinese
how many cars
CEO.
did Faraday Future make this year? 16 or something?
That is the issue, by the way, with Tesla. There, if you look at the model bifurcation, I think BYD has over 40 people. People think, oh, we got this high volume of cars. When you divide it by the number of EV models they have, it's the volume per SKU is really low. That's why they have cost issues. That's why they have cost issues. By the way, it's one of the reasons. There really isn't a high volume model unless isn't a high volume EV. So you have to start thinking almost like gas powered vehicles, Toyota Corolla, Highlander, these are the other vehicles that are over 1 million in volume per year. So for Tesla, it's really diminishing returns. They have a 1 million unit a year car that they have FSD on. It's a 1.2 million a year Model Y that's growing. And that's honestly, if you look at the number of R&D hours and the benefit, they're going to get more benefit on that than working on 50,000 cars for Ford.
What would regulations say? Would there be a government, the U.S. government, say, "Oh my God, this one company, Tesla, is the only one making these robotaxis and cars, and what do we do?"
All they have to do is create an SDK, a software development kit, and a hardware development kit, and make it available. They can price it wherever they want to price it. They can make their computer available. They can have a small team inside of Tesla. And they've clearly, Elon's been very clear about wanting to offer this both as an economic opportunity, but also as a safety to improve the safety of roads. So I think they're okay, but they probably have to make it available, or they will be dealing with those kinds of issues. The development kits.
I think on the regulatory side, I think that's why there will be a strong number two, because Tesla needs to have a strong number two. I think that will be Waymo. And I think people also underestimate the amount of apocalyptic futures that is coming for the OEMs. I think they're in way deeper trouble than people realize. People think like, oh, Volkswagen and Ford and GM have some problems. But I don't think these are some problems. I think these are the last problems they will have, because they have no way out. I think they're done. And I think that will become very clear actually next year. It's not going to take too much longer.
Joe, you and I just did a show on this, but I don't know if Cern and Jeff is aware. Do you know what Volkswagen just did? Volkswagen has announced that they're going to partner with the Chinese automakers, which they have already, to build Volkswagen cars, but not only to sell in China now, which is what they've been doing, but now to sell around the world. They basically outsourced. Because why? The Chinese automakers have proven that they are faster, cheaper, quicker. Everything was so much better that they cannot compete anymore. And they're just going to have them sell around the world, not just China anymore. This is I don't know, man. What
could possibly go wrong? It sounds like it.
Volkswagen should bring Herbert Diess back and then license FSD.
Yeah. Wow. Great conversation, guys. That was good. I think we really did cover a lot of ground there. Talked a lot about a little bit more understanding of what you guys think is going to happen with full self-driving, Robotaxi 2026. We're talking 12 months from now. It's going to be very fun to continue watching this. Yeah, Joe, you got to try out 14.2, 14.3.
Oh, that's cruel, Herbert, to tell him to do that when he's not able to.
We're dangling. He's in Europe and he doesn't have a chance.
I have to go to Germany and
fly over here.
These test rides.
Yeah, fly over here because it's worth you know. Yeah, I'd love to see your reaction to it.
The cruelness of Herbert. Joe, you really need to try this out. And while you're at it, Joe, you really need to buy a Cybertruck.
But I watched it. I experienced it through all you guys. I watched the videos. Like, wow.
Somebody made this comment recently. I think it was Omar, or other people saying they're questioning why they bought a performance version car, a Tesla.
Yeah.
When now that you've got FSD driving for you, you want something a little bit more comfort. You don't need that. I mean, the occasional time you get your you do it, but it's no longer this everyday thing.
That's true.
Interesting, eh?
It is
interesting.
That is true. I think it will change powertrains, battery. It'll change a lot of different things over time, but it's it's on its way. It's going to be very, very interesting. The next year is going to be really interesting, both inside of Tesla and to Joe and your point about the other OEMs and just how that plays out. It's going to be interesting to watch.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Follow Cern Basher. He's got lots of forecasts and spreadsheets and presentations. He shares it with the audience. Of course, Jeff, he's the man. You've got to be following him, subscribing to him. He's got the finger on the pulse of supplies and manufacturing and all that. And then Joe, he's fantastic. Check out his website, pioneerlands.net. He thinks about the future in AI deeply, deep thinking. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.